Hi, my name is Ron Johnson, and today we're going to go into social interaction. Social interaction is my project, and as you see on the screen, we have social interaction. Let's look and think about what we see in the picture. And we're going to break down the word social interaction. You think about a number of people that literally are socializing or working together or as separate people who are together. So let's break down social interaction. Social interaction related to society. And we can say society will dictate a little bit of what we do and how we interact depending on its setting, relating to human society and how it is organized. So you think about an organization, we go into an organization, say the organization is a football organization or a cake baking organization. The way we socialize with those organizations would dictate how we react and how we respond to each other. Relating to interaction of people. Now, the way people act will relate to or will change our thoughts and our minds and how we speak to people or how we react to the actions of people who we're around, relating to how the way in which people in groups behave and interact. And in an example, you look at this group. Just imagine if this group was a group of soccer players and how they would react to a ball, or a group of people who were of the deaf culture. Their action would be a little bit different than people within a speaking culture. Living in the community or living or preferring to live as a part of the community or colony rather than alone. And that will also dictate how we interact. You go into one community based on, you can say, structure, or we can say income. Sometimes it'll dictate the way we act based on how society has set up within those communities. Interaction. Let's break down interaction. Interaction, or your innermost action. The prefix is inter, or between, or amongst, in the midst of, or in the midst of our actions. And we see with the example, these two people are looking at each other. They have thoughts within their mind, but let's guess and see how they're going to interact. Are they speaking to each other, giving each other advice or pointers, or are they looking at each other in love, or are they looking at each other in disgust? It all depends on the setting in which they're in, how they're going to interact. Communication and collaboration. Communication or between or joint activity involving two or more people. Reciprocal action. The combined or reciprocal action of two or more things that have an effect on each other or work together. So interaction does not just have to be within humans, it can also be within things. For example, when we look at a structure and how these structures interact to become one or to become as one part. For example, before we go into the definition of structure, we look at these molecules, or we could say DNA, and how they interact with each other. So these DNA interact with each other, they combine with each other, they work together with each other to build something. The same for the example of this structure. Even though it's man-made, it's still interacting with each other in a certain way to where it is building something. And the structure, the way that parts link or function, the way in which the different parts of something linked work together, or fact of being linked together. So we think about a question when we go into social interaction, how we actually link together as humans. What people do when they are in one another's presence. Question. I pose these questions to you. Think about this when we think about social interaction. How do you interact with people in different settings? Do you interact with people at work differently than you interact with your family at home? Does society dictate how we should act in different settings? So let's have a quick discussion. And these are two things that we should discuss within our blogs. Name 3 different ways that you interact with people. Then name 3 different settings that you have interacted with people. The ways that you interact with people are totally different than the settings. If you go from one setting, let's say church, if you go into a church, the way you interact with people will be totally different than if you go into a setting that may be a funeral or a setting of education or a setting of just information. So each setting, the way we interact with society dictates how we're going to interact based on how society has set rules for us to interact.